Good evening. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate having you here, and I have lots of interesting things to think about. First of all, let's talk about space. Many of you know that I grew up at Harvard University with astronomers around me. Thank you very much. Galaxies and, So the interesting thing to me is, what does it mean today when one of our friends who's an American whose name is Michio Kaku talks about hyperspace? Well, I'll leave that to him, but let's just recognize that we have had, through the years, many ideas of reality. And some of those ideas of reality have been very astronomical. For instance, at the Ptolemaic times of Egypt and the later Egypt, it was considered quite clearly that the Earth was the center of the universe and that the sun went around it and other things like that. Well, that got revised when Copernicus made it quite clear several centuries later that actually the sun was the center of the universe and all of us were going around the sun. Does it feel that way? Can we see it that way? Can we justify that? Well, no. So we have to go beyond what the eye sees and what the feels and the touch is. So that means that later on, when we got closer to where we are today, perhaps I should say, we is wherever we are, that actually there was a big bang of some sort and an explosion, and my father, Harlow Shapley, was the astronomer who began to show us that there is an expanding universe that is all rushing away from where that original explosion took place. Well, Avi Lemaitre and others who gave that theory out at the beginning of the 19th century were making it quite clear that the reality is something in time and space and things of that sort. Well, I won't give names all over the place, but the thing is that when Max Planck, at the beginning of that century, gave his constant and showed that there was something else going on besides the physical universe. Thank you very much. Now, Einstein and Harlow Shapley were those who were taking the physical universe as the reality and making that into a way of us perceiving how we are made and how the universe is made. And that was not sufficient, I must admit, but I was very excited as a teenager in going to where that was going and understanding it as best I could. Uncle Albert kept saying, I want a unified field theory, an Einstein field theory, a unified field theory. But even my father's galaxies and Einstein's fields were still the material universe. Well, what about everything else? And since I was into music, I say, how is music into this universe? I don't mean the Pythagorean idea of a mathematical vibration. I mean, where's the feeling and the understanding and the reality that goes beyond the material? Well, I'm not going to say that I was finding out the answers to questions like that. But there had been those, like one of my mentors was Mary Baker Eddy, who brought the science of the Christ forward in the 1870s. She called God principle. Well, what a thing to be able to say in the science of spirituality that God is principle. And beloved John, years before, had said God is love. And God is spirit. And it's a conscious thing, so God is mind. And it has to do with our being alive, so God is life, produces all of these experiences, I would rather call them. Well, that was all right. But in 1927, when I came in, and it was the same year that quantum physics came in at Copenhagen, we began to see there was more to reality than the physical universe. And Uncle Albert was good about saying the fourth dimension includes time. Well, if it's linear time we're talking about, then it's limited. You go from point A to point B to point C. But if it's going to be an expanding universe, even the physical universe, it has to go beyond time. and beyond space. Now, what can we say is beyond time and beyond space? Again, Einstein, God to him was energy. It's E equals mc squared. To John, it was love. God is love. To Mrs. Eddy and others, God is principle. Principle, life, truth, love, spirit, and then soul. What is soul? Besides the definition of God. So you and I, basically, are soul. That puts us in the picture. Now, most of the gods of the ancient Greeks and even the Hebrews was an anthropomorphic God. It was really backwards. It was God created in the image and likeness of man. That is not useful. Even when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, the people thought they heard him say that God was a jealous God. What an absolutely absurd thing. Later on, I must give him credit that he denied that he ever even said that. But never mind, a jealous God. The functioning source of the entire universe, jealous? No way. And so I complete today by saying, let's meet again on the same subject, but starting from where we can now, from a quantum physics standpoint, see that God is not physical, but God is consciousness. Consciousness. You and I are supported by, are sourced by consciousness. And so the God of consciousness comes closer to the God of love. And I like that. And I'm going to share that with you next time. And so enjoy the consciousness of the universe beyond the material coming as inspiration into your heart and into your life. And if you're in this same universe, next time I, Dr. Carl, will be delighted to have you join me, and we'll go into the space of higher dimensions of consciousness. Got it.